Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we take a look at the astrological energies from June 11th until June 18th. And wow, what a paradigm shifting energy we are continuing to move through. The energies will intensify over this next week as an intense push into a new version of yourself is showing up and moving through you, perhaps even with a quickness that is unexpected. We have strong aspects this week that involve Jupiter now in Cancer, a powerful Mars squaring Uranus, and then Mars finally leaves Leo and enters Virgo on June 17th. We are still in Gemini season until June 20th, which is the summer solstice. But the sun in Gemini has been traveling mostly unaspected to other planets during this particular cycle, which means there's a part of us that's over here thinking about things, weighing choices and options. What do I need to be aware of? What details have I not considered? This could feel like you've been more internalized and perhaps even processing more as the sun in Gemini does its own thing and maybe isn't even seeking as much conversation as normal. So even though it is Gemini season, there are stronger energies here that are showing up in the early degrees of Aries and early degrees of Cancer. Now, I did touch on these energies last week in last Wednesday's show, so we will be picking up on those in today's show as well. As I record this podcast, the Sagittarius full moon has already peaked at 20 degrees 30 minutes of Sagittarius, which is an expansive energy into what you're ready to understand and trust in yourself at a whole new level. This Sagittarius full moon was ruled by Jupiter now in Cancer, which activates not only past memories, our lineage, and what we are feeling at a very personal level, but it also shows us how we're ready to emotionally grow. And that is one of the higher aspects of the Cancer energy, is that it brings you home into yourself so that you can really feel what matters to you and what's going on in your internal world with self-acceptance and personal understanding. But here comes Jupiter to say, okay, now let's grow from this. Let's move it ahead. Let's water it, nurture it, provide you with something that maybe you really need and you didn't know you needed. And that could be one of the themes coming up here for the Sagittarius full moon, is a more expanded understanding of what you need, what you seek, and the type of emotional fulfillment that you want to develop either in yourself, in your connections, and in your life. As that Sagittarius full moon tapers off and moves ahead, we have a Mercury in Cancer sextiling Venus in Taurus at 5 degrees. The sextile is supportive, kind, loving. It's your best friend who's there for you in a grounded, compassionate way. And there's a peacefulness to Mercury in Cancer sextiling Venus in Taurus. There's greater calm and patience, which could be welcomed. And there's also a retraction of energy, which is leave me alone. I need a break. I need a lunch hour to myself, as both these energies want less stimuli, less interaction, and less conversation. And now after the energies on June 11th, there are no other exact transiting aspects until June 15th. And this packs a punch. June 15th brings in paradigm shattering energies that show us what needs to change, what will change, and where we are moving into these new higher versions of ourselves, even if it's uncomfortable, jolting, and wildly unexpected. On June 15th, Mars in Leo squares Uranus in Taurus at 28 degrees. And this is an energy of aggression, challenge, disruptions, force, and might are showing up to change whatever has been stuck or stagnant. There can certainly be an escalation of energies here as well, as that Mars in Leo is loud, demonstrative, bold, and aggressive. And Uranus in Taurus is the energy of what you're not going to take, what you're not going to sit with, what you're not going to allow or tolerate. Now, here in the US, you might say, okay, well, this energy is already in motion if you are watching what is unfolding in the Los Angeles area. And also in the US this weekend, there are a number of protest marches planned across multiple cities. There's also on June 14th, a military parade planned for Flag Day and for President Trump's birthday. So you might notice that, yes, we're already in highly unstable, unpredictable energies. I would recommend remaining a critical thinker and to be aware of the power of images, the power of media, to question if everything is being shown or if it's only some instances that are being repeatedly shown in order to trigger fear and trigger emotional reactions. Many of you are very wise to the ways of the mainstream media, but just stay in the higher mindset of knowing not everything is going to be on TV or televised, especially if it's maybe more peaceful. Astrologically, the energies are ramping up this weekend, and there could be greater violence in some areas. This is not calm, detached energy by any means, and there could potentially be big world-changing developments and events that happen over this next week. There has been an acceleration in the collective energy field towards growth and towards the new paradigm. But as that energy has accelerated, there are other parts of the old paradigm that will be combusting, shattering, and collapsing as there are fewer energy codes that support those realities. And so what we're moving through is a paradigm shifting reality change as the new continues to flood in very dramatically and disrupts old approaches, structures, and experiences. And the way that it's being presented to me is through architecture. And it's through energetic architecture of what has been built on the planet that is ending and collapsing. I don't believe this means literal architecture, but I suppose that could certainly be an interpretation. I'm seeing the energetic architecture of the old paradigm is what drastically changes. Again, June, July, and August, which I mentioned in a previous podcast. So it's not just June, rather it's over the course of a few months here, is that the energetic architecture on the planet is being dismantled, it's collapsing. It could be abrupt and shocking and can definitely stir up a lot of feelings. But I'm seeing this from that higher perspective of it also affirms the new paradigms are arriving. The new consciousness is flooding in that is dissolving and dismantling the old ways. And so this weekend, that Mars in Leo squaring Uranus and Taurus at 28 degrees is a shocking reality change that can be very dramatic and over the top with an exaggerated Mars in Leo. And at the same time as this square is occurring, we have the third and final square between Jupiter in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries at 1 degree, also on June 15th. Now, this is the third and final square between Jupiter, the wise, jolly, spiritual protector of the solar system, coming up against the tried and true, responsible, committed nature of Saturn. Now, let's go back in time here to look at how this story has unfolded that brings us here to the middle of June. Now, if you'll recall, back in December 2020, we had that great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn at the early degrees of Aquarius, 0 and 1 degrees of Aquarius, which was about seeding our consciousness with new Aquarian codes to connect us to where we can go collectively, where humanity can evolve, how the earth can continue to shift and grow, and bringing in these new paradigm approaches. Now, since they had that great conjunction, which happens every 20 years, between Jupiter and Saturn. That's why it's a big deal in astrology. Then each moves forward into different astrology signs at different paces, since Jupiter moves faster than Saturn. And we've been moving through their first opening square that started in 2024. There were 2 squares with Jupiter in Gemini squaring Saturn in Pisces, once in August at 17 degrees, and then the second one in late December at 14 degrees. These 2 squares involve the mutable signs, which showed you indecision, possibilities, uncertainty. Jupiter in Gemini was bringing in new information to learn, develop, understand, perhaps expanding even more of what to choose or what could happen or what to do, as well as overthinking it. And then Saturn in Pisces was about closures, endings, perhaps feeling defeated, discouraged, uncertain, not knowing if it's worth it, not knowing if you should choose it. Is this going to pay off? Does this make sense? And so we've been in a state of uncertainty around what to choose in a particular area of your life. Or maybe it's been a few areas of your life where you didn't feel like you could fully trust it, which is something that Pisces energy wants. But Saturn was showing you, well, should you trust it? Should you go for it? Should you let it go? The squares here could have had you spinning your wheels, doubting a direction, bringing up worst case scenarios, and caused a lot of overthinking that did not go anywhere. This would have been a time of deep internalization, review, and considering what was said or what was not said. Again, this was happening in the middle degrees of Gemini and the middle degrees of Pisces in your chart. So if you want to look back at where you have 14 to 17 degrees of Gemini and 14 to 17 degrees of Pisces, you might see things in a new light now around where that pressure was, where there was that built-in tension, as well as a deep uncertainty. Now, here we are, the middle of June, and each of these planets has moved into a new sign. Saturn is now in Aries, and of course, Jupiter has just entered Cancer. This creates their third and final square, but in new territory and in the cardinal signs of initiation, action, and what do you want to intentionally begin in this new chapter of yourself? Aries and Cancer are personal signs. So they're about your personal self-concept and your personal needs, how you see yourself growing and flourishing next. What's that next level growth that you want, but perhaps last year it just wasn't time. It just didn't line up. It didn't even make sense. But now there's something that you can move towards, plan for, and create that will feel like it is showing up, even though you're being pushed through some type of astrological birth canal, if you will, to create this next chapter. And so the intensity is here, which is also meeting new parts of yourself that perhaps you haven't experienced in this life, or you meeting for the first time after it was pushed away or fractured out of your energy field. The Aries energy and the Cancer energy is bring it in close, bring it into your self-identity and your self-awareness, and trust what feels good. So this is less about the mental process that maybe last year brought up for you, and now it's about, but what really feels true? What feels truer to me? And it's new true, new clarity. That maybe is surprising, because part of this push here between Jupiter and Cancer and Saturn and Aries is that you are co-creating a new part of yourself with that Jupiter and Cancer feminine, that Saturn and Aries masculine, and it's bringing you into a new formation of what you want and desire. But I'm seeing the energy goes up, like an on-ramp, and it has a surge to it. This is a feel-good surge. This is being in a higher level of connection with your heart and your needs and operating from that space. Now, right after Jupiter squares Saturn in Aries at 1 degree, by the way, this is 1 degree, 16 minutes is where this is occurring, then Jupiter moves forward and has a square to Neptune in Aries, now at 2 degrees. This is new territory for Neptune and Aries. And this is about, how do I form the new dream? Neptune in Aries is holding those codes of new potentials, creation, adventure, and beginnings, and working with that Jupiter in Cancer. But through a square, there is a sense of, can I do this? Will this happen? Is it ridiculous? Am I too idealistic? Am I setting myself up for defeat or failure? Which can be a normal part of any big life change, where even if you feel you're ready for something next, or maybe you're not sure what it is. I mean, let me validate that for some of you. You might be feeling this energy and then you just have big questions about, well, what is this for me? I'm not sure what this is specifically, but I feel the energy. And so it is a part of our energy field to go into those lower waves at times and to drop into the lower feelings. But Jupiter is exalted in Cancer and Neptune is in Aries, which is, remember, you won't know it all right away. It will take time to be brought together and be experienced. So there is a bigger dream arriving that has a strong emotional component to it. And I'm getting the visual of swaying back and forth, that you could be dancing with the new dream. You could be moving with it in between different versions of it or different understandings of what it could be. And yet this is about expanding with it, expanding into more of the potentials that aren't known yet. They're not solid. So how can you be okay when it's not solid yet? How do you care for yourself? Which is what Jupiter in Cancer is asking you to sit with. Take care. Don't give up hope. Don't abandon what you want or give up on it too soon. And so all this energy is happening over the course of the next week. So remember, it's June 15th is when there is very potent, powerful energies arriving, and then June 18th is when this Jupiter squaring Neptune is exact. And because these are the outer planets, they are the stronger influence. They are the ones that are lifting us out of our mundane reality and requiring us to make change. So if you needed one buzzword for this week, it's change, which is, of course, a very overused word. But this is about personal changes, personal shifts, and what you are moving away from that represents your old paradigm, your old version of self, because we are birthing new versions of ourselves in the new paradigm with these universal flows. Yes, it can be wildly uncomfortable and disorienting, but at a cosmic level, it's right on time. And so rest assured that your soul knows this timeline. Your soul came in fully aware of what you were ready to move towards and change in your reality during the middle here of 2025. And so if that brings comfort, that your soul is right here with you saying, yes, it's time, you're ready, you've got this, you're guided, you're protected, and you're moving forward in the best possible ways. That can help relax our nervous system and our emotional bodies to deal with these big changes. And I just keep coming back to the intense energies in the collective over Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and how as these old architecture codes collapse and as the old paradigm deconstructs, even self deconstructs, there are divine reasons for it that we don't always know in the present, but are part of a bigger story and can bring us back into what really matters individually and collectively. So in a very weird way, the intensified energies can ground us into more of what we really want, what we don't want to compromise in this lifetime, rather what you want to create next from a place of being empowered and aligned with clarity. Time is bending throughout this year, and that's part of the influence of Neptune in Aries. And so maybe you thought, okay, here is my plan, or here is what I need to do to get my ducks in a row. And then with the experience of time bending, those things happen faster, or it seems that they're occurring outside of a typical linear framework. And that's part of how our relationship with time, especially our human journey time, is changing as well. I think that as we continue into 2025, we're going to have more immediate awakenings. I'm seeing it as this instant knowingness. This is what I have to do. This is what's important to me. This is what I want. I feel that people are going to be deeply activated with this new experience of time bending. And you're going to have a sense of, not only am I going to do this, but I'm going to call it in immediately. I'm going to call it in on that accelerated timeline that I haven't maybe been giving enough energy to. And I'm seeing many people just magnetizing into their personal auras. It's like this intense gravitational pull into their personal auras, what they truly want in their life now. And this is a part of the energetics of the new paradigm. I'm also seeing that there are these blasts that remove density, blockages, limitations, challenges. That could be something this weekend too, that there are these blasts of insight and a new sense of, what am I doing? Is this what I want? Is this where I want to direct my energy? Does this truly resonate with me anymore? And part of the immediate awakenings of this time is that people take more drastic measures. They have more of that aggressive outburst if they have felt confined, held back, or limited. So it will be necessary to be more responsible with our energies as well. And so another aspect this week that will actually support that is Mars entering Virgo on June 17th. It happens at 4:35 a.m. Eastern Time, and Mars moves into the sign of Virgo, which is what is working, what is efficient and practical, what is needed and what is excessive. It brings us down into what we can do and how to be responsible in energetically managing what we are required to do. Virgo is a very responsible energy. So after Mars has this explosive interaction with Uranus in Taurus at 28 degrees, the entry into Virgo is going to redirect you into, okay, this is what I'll take care of now. This is what's on my list. This is what matters, and this is what's essential. I don't want to be overdoing it or dispersed in ways that don't pay off. Mars in Virgo will start to sextile Jupiter in Cancer, which can help with emotional regulation and moderation, directing energy towards what matters and what will pay off, and also tune you into what your body is holding. As Mars entering Virgo is the energy meridians that run through us and how we manage them and care for them, how you have certain lifestyle habits, exercise routines, and daily devotions that are good for your overall well-being. Mars in Virgo brings your attention to, what do I need now to take care of myself, to take care of my energy, and how can I do so in ways that don't overwhelm me? I feel that this Mars in Virgo is going to be a beautiful gift of reducing overwhelm and prioritizing what is needed. And so again, that starts June 17th. As Mars will be in Virgo until August 6th. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are in Gemini season, and that Sun in Gemini has been largely unaspected during this time. But the Sun in Gemini will have one final connection before entering into Cancer, and that will be on June 17th. As the Sun in Gemini sextiles Chiron in Aries at 26 degrees, and this can bring about mental relief, support for making a choice, maybe finally communicating or saying something that has been internalized. The Sun sextiling Chiron is supportive and helpful. So this could even be that you receive some good tips or direction or advice for a problem you've had or an issue you've been trying to figure out. Chiron in Aries brings that relief or medicine in some form and can calm down the spinning and overactivity of that Sun in Gemini. And then the Sun moves ahead And the sun will reach the summer solstice here in the northern hemisphere on June 20th. The exact standstill moment will be at 10:42 p.m. Eastern Time. I will touch on that next week in next Wednesday's show, but just know that we are moving towards that peak pause where the sun is the brightest and it shines for the longest amount of daylight in the northern hemisphere, which of course means it's the shortest amount of daylight in the southern hemisphere. But the solstice is a pause, and that will be a beautiful blessing and gift here during the month of June, especially. It's a pause in the light and the warmth of the sun's consciousness. It's a reconnection to your own expanding light and what you are ready to feel into that is a rising truth and is meant to light you up going forward. As we've discussed, June is about big changes and shifts. There are parts of ourselves that we are meant to move away from, where it isn't going to be in alignment or resonance with these new parts of yourself that your soul is blasting in and welcoming into your awareness. This is a time of allowing yourself to grow in a new way, filled with hope and wonder around what is possible next, especially if you're willing to dream a bigger dream for yourself. And because it's such a big week for Jupiter in Cancer, there is a directive here to sit with how that feels. How would that feel in your aura, in your heart, in your essence, to dream a bigger dream and move towards greater emotional fulfillment, trust, safety, and connection, whether that is with yourself or with others. But what are you ready to welcome into your experience for the first time in this lifetime that evolves your heart, soul, and self-love? And it could help to stay focused on some of these bigger overarching questions as the tumultuous energies of this week unfold. Now, with that being said, I do want to actively invite you to pull into the earth more high vibrating codes of love, peace, and compassion. To visualize these energies coming down into some of the more intense or aggressive energies and allow them to be these beautiful crystalline light codes that gently disperse what is leaving or gently dissolves any exaggeration, aggression, violence, anything that's overactive on the planet. When we visualize this energy flooding the earth and swirling around the planet, it's sort of like wrapping it up in a beautiful crystalline blanket to add greater comfort and peace as needed. And you can also have an intention to direct this energy wherever it needs to go, to allow the universe to move these higher vibrating crystalline light codes to exactly where they will be the most effective and the most influential. This is how we stay empowered around our energy and our abilities, and also how we can continue to be active in directing energies on the planet instead of thinking that it's all reaction or that we can't do anything. Yes, we can. Full ownership over your mastery is essential right now. So let's pull in the energies that would be most beautifully beneficial to peacefully calm whatever may be inflamed and deeply triggered at this time. And don't forget yourself. Certainly call these energies into yourself if needed as well. I find that it's during these big energy periods that we can work more intentionally with universal spiritual laws, that we can activate them, practice them, trust them, and know that, of course, we are them. We are them in physical form. And so this would be a powerful time to welcome in more around the law of divine oneness, the law of rhythm, the law of action, the law of polarity. being able to harness these energies and understand how they show up can really give us greater peace and understanding that, okay, I can't control everything going on in the world, but I also don't need to. When I understand that the law of divine oneness is here and it's present, even if my human eyes don't always recognize it or see it, I can choose to align my consciousness with that awareness and really deeply connect with a deeper intelligence system within the energies. So it's looking at, how do I want to actively work with these universal intelligence streams, knowing that I am them and they are me. So what do I give my focused attention to? The law of polarity absolutely has a place, but so does the law of rhythm, and so does the law of karma and the law of relativity. So we have all these influences that we can call in as well as give attention to. And I find that for me, it personally will calm down any parts of myself that are confused or uncertain, and that the laws of the universe are so wise, so expansive, and so beautiful that they're always there to guide us when we say yes or when we choose to direct our sovereignty towards them. So I also want to offer that reminder of how we have some very big systems of energy at play here. And so what do you want to harness and work with that is particularly aligned with where you're at now? You know, all too often we just get stuck in our heads, right? But universal spiritual laws align us with synchronicity, manifestations, abundance, things we couldn't even consider or be aware of in our limited scope of intelligence. So just a reminder that that is a perspective you could work with if it resonates and if it calls to you. And if you wanted to learn more about the universal spiritual laws that directly align with your astrology chart, I do have a program called Your Cosmic Codes that shows you what you came in with, that you were already deeply connected to, which universal spiritual laws you have direct access to, as well as more of the gifts that are available in your astrology chart. So this is a different take on understanding what's in your chart, a different lens. And many people have had some very eye-opening breakthroughs around it in terms of, oh my goodness, that's true. I remember that when I was younger. I've always felt I could work with the law of polarity or the law of action more readily, etc., etc. So just to share in case any of you would like to go down that particular rabbit hole. So as we've discussed, the ending of Gemini season is quite big and dynamic. That also means there is more information going on at this time. I do find that with Jupiter now in Cancer, you might be ready for a slow down and a sit down. You might be ready to catch up on things that you were too busy for previously. So I hope that that's also one of the priorities that the aspects bring up. Meaning, as we go through these intense energies, you are now more deeply connected to what you need, what you want, and that you feel your energy can open up into spaces that were previously congested or overworked. The beginning of Cancer season is going to be quite intense as it continues these themes. So what you're experiencing over this next week, it continues through basically the rest of June. This is a catalyst month, but if you are deeply aligned with your soul's wisdom and you're willing to go higher to tap into that bigger, broader perspective, you might feel like, yes, it's right on time. I'm ready. Let's do this. Here we go. And that is what June is offering our way. So as always, wishing you a beautiful journey over this next week. Wishing you peace, safety, and important breakthroughs. And I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new podcast episode, as always. Thank you so much for making time in your day to join me. I'm deeply grateful, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.